It's nice to be back reviewing again. And when we have a brand new movie version of Phantom of the Opera, it's all the sweeter. Yes, you heard me right. Brand new Phantom of the Opera movie is out. Yay! But it's an independent movie. Boo! Now, we haven't had a feature film of Phantom of the Opera since 2004, but we have had 2 independent films in the meantime. Of course, we've had 2009's Angel of Music, which I reviewed in depth, and how can I put it? It was... yeah. And we had 2010's Eric, Portrait of a Living Corpse, which, despite its very low budget and obviously amateur actors, was an entertaining and original take on a classic story. Now, in 2014, we have a new version by Canadian actor and director Anthony P. Mann. I interviewed him a while back. Check the link on this page. If I remember to add it, that is. You know, I've got a lot on my mind, so forgive me. But he's a really great guy, and I think Phantom is in safe hands. He's every bit the Phantom nerd I am. I mean, to be honest, he might even love Phantom even more than me, and I'm legally married to the Phantom. He's even played the Phantom in an entertaining but hokey radio play.
You will sing, Christine. Oh, you too shall feel the wrath of the Phantom of the Opera. From now on, you will sing, but you will sing only for me.
And when he's not making movies, he hosts the excellent Horror Etc. podcast, which you can often find playing in my ears. So, the good news is, I think we can trust this guy. He's coming at the story with a love of Phantom and horror movies in general. I think he knows what he's doing. Bad news is that, well, I haven't seen any of his other films, but from the clips I've seen online, they kind of look cheap and goofy looking.
Welcome to my home, Mr. Harker.
Getting a slight Angel of Music vibe here, so this could either go really well, or it could be a spectacular train wreck. I really do want this to succeed. I mean, I don't actively sit here in my lair wanting all Phantom movies to be garbage. Can I be blamed if they almost always are? Will this buck the trend, or be just another awful Phantom movie for me to suffer through and regret? Only one way to find out. Let's put this sucker in, sit down with some popcorn, and watch Anthony P. Mann's Phantom of the Opera. Okay, so the movie starts off with a great pre-credit sequence where we are introduced to our Phantom straight away.
There is no point in struggling. The ropes are rather tight.
We have this really tense scene where the Phantom is toying with Joseph Bouquet like a sinister cat playing with his little hairy catnuts. I really like Anthony's portrayal of Eric. He's made him badass again. Seems to be very much based on Robert Englund's style of performance.
You're going to ask me 3 riddles.
In a manner of speaking, yes. But don't fret. They shouldn't be too difficult for you to answer.
And if I answer them correctly, I'll go free?
You will be free to depart.
This Eric is cultured, intelligent, egotistical, sadistic, and without a doubt, shat-bit insane. Just the way I like it.
Did you come alone, or did you have an accomplice?
I came alone, I swear.
I believe you, Joseph, and you're doing very well.
I also really like the Phantom's mask. It reminds me of those old plague doctors, and the sharp angles of it are also really unique and creepy, giving this Phantom a very distinct look that really makes him stand out in the pantheon of Phantoms. I guess it's not much of a spoiler for any Phantom fan to know that Joseph Bouquet doesn't last very long in this movie, but I'm not going to spoil the way he exits. But it took me by surprise, and it's pretty cool. Then after the credit sequence, we're in the present day. Boo! Yeah, I know. I really don't like these present-day framing narratives. They take valuable screen time away from the Phantom. It sucked in the Robert Englund version. It sucked in Wishbone, and although this is better handled than most, I would much rather be in the period setting, but that's just me. Anyway, the modern stuff is set in the fictional city of Garnier. Yeah, get it? Absolutely side-splitting. The story is based around a hokey paranormal reality TV show called Truly Haunted, where a camera crew are investigating strange goings-on in the old Garnier Opera House. Interning with the show is a girl called Charisma,
Darling.
who is the Christine equivalent in the modern day, played by Savannah Kimmerer. She's a cute girl in a nerdy kind of way, and she has this cute, dorky relationship with a cute, dorky cameraman, who is this film's Raoul equivalent.
The day I fished you out of the water, it's one hell of a way to make a first impression.
Hey, I was just reaching for a scarf that I dropped off the pier.
They don't have a Raoul equivalent in the period setting, but I'm fine with that. And although this Raoul, or Richard in this version, isn't the main character and doesn't get a great deal of screen time, he is pretty likeable, and the romance he has with Charisma is quite believable and cute.
Oh, no. Oh, there is no way in hell I'm going to that thing.
Anyway, the camera crew interview the owner of the theatre, who was a young boy in the 1930s when his father owned the opera house, and we flash back and forth between the different time periods, and, this is okay. It makes the modern day stuff a lot less redundant than the Robert Englund version. It's quite well handled, and adds to the intrigue of the unfolding mystery. I think having the theatre investigated by this ghost hunting paranormal team is an interesting angle. I was expecting them to go a bit more found footage style, some sort of paranormal activity style thing. Maybe scenes of them catching glimpses of the phantom on the video and trying to make sense of it all, but they kind of didn't go down that route, which I was sort of disappointed by, but whatever. The film spends more time in the period setting, which I am grateful for. The modern day stuff didn't outstay its welcome, so that was good. Now, although we get a great big burst of phantomy goodness at the start of the movie and a really good look at him, from here on in he's kept much more in the shadows, rather like the Chaney version. We only see little glimpses of him. We see his shadow on the wall or hear his voice.
My soul wants to sing.
Listen to the enchanted violin, Christine. Let the strains of the music release you from all worries. There is but one thought tonight. Rest. Soon you will sing on the opera stage, and the world will clamor at your feet.
I cannot.
You are almost ready. It is almost time. I would never deceive you, Christine.
The angel is my friend.
There is only the angel.
The manager, Furman, is not menaced by notes and tricks as in other versions. Here he's rather on speaking terms with the Phantom, and they have a sort of weird truce going on where the Phantom has a lot of say in the running of the opera house.
While I program the season and design the productions, we do rather well.
My son saw you.
Everyone's seen the Phantom.
You've come too close this time.
Are you suddenly so displeased with the terms of our treaty?
And Furman covers up a lot of the Phantom's dastardly goings-on, including the murders, to any opera staff who grow a little bit suspicious.
He says this is the handiwork of the devil itself.
Monsieur, your string section is unbalanced and your pacing in the finale lackluster. You will find your master score re-annotated to my specifications. You will find it advisable to heed these recommendations lest you find your eyes plucked from your skull.
Monsieur!
Oh, really? Let's be logical about this. People don't just go running around poking each other's eyes out. This is some sort of a sick joke made by one of your players.
Now, there's a lot more to this relationship than first appears, and I can't really say too much about it because it's a hell of a spoiler, but it's a plot twist that I didn't really see coming and was a refreshing change. Now, also like the Robert Englund version, it seems modern Christine, Charisma, whatever, is some sort of reincarnation of 1930s Christine. Either that or she somehow has access to Christine's memories through the paranormal power of the old theatre. I don't know, it's never really explained.
I think I've dreamed about this place, Richard.
Well, of course. We knew we were coming here for weeks.
It's not an anonymous dream. I've dreamed about this place exactly as it is now. Or, now that I think about it, maybe as it once was.
Okay, now you've lost me.
In the dream, it's the same dream every time.
You've had it more than once?
More often, perhaps, than I'd rather admit.
Alright, now I'm hooked. What happens in this dream?
It's so weird. It's like I'm me, but I'm not me. It's like I'm living and breathing this other woman's life, but I'm convinced that I can't be because I think we exist in different times. Stop it, I need you to be serious for just 1 second.
I'm sorry.
And of course, Christine from the 1930s is also played by Savannah Kimmerer. She looks fantastic in black and white. She has this real classic actress sort of face, and plays a character with that Terry Polo-style childlike naivety. We don't get any great insights into her character, unfortunately. She's not the most memorable Christine I've seen. She's kind of dumb 1930s damsel in distress kind of character.
But I don't want to live here. Please let me go.
I did find her modern-day character to be a lot more endearing and believable.
I'm fine, Richard. Get back to Cruella. I'll be up in a bit.
Okay.
Who's Cruella? Hey.
And Savannah is a fine actress. I think this girl could go far, because don't forget, this is her first role. She won the role of Christine through a reality TV program, so, she could have been awful, but, she's good. I liked her. I liked all the cast, to be fair. And you want to know who else I like? The Persian. Yes, we get the Persian in this one, which is always a bonus. I think he's a great character in the novel and terribly underused in the movie versions. In this one, the Persian is one-eyed and super creepy.
You are very busy then, Christine Dare.
I'd wager so, sir.
And do you have a husband or a lover, Christine? Oh. That question. Too personal?
No, you think?
What did you say your name was, sir?
I don't believe I did say, Christine.
Okay, I'll just be off then. Christine, you're doing it all wrong. The correct way to end this scene would be to poke him in his good eye and then run away. The dynamic between the Persian, the Phantom, and Vermin, the opera manager, is very different in this version. I don't want to spoil it for you, but again, it was a big twist that I didn't see coming, and I enjoyed it very much.
What was that?
We also get a Carlotta character, this time called Sorelli, and she's just great. Nice, big, fat and juicy, just the way I like 'em, and hilariously egotistical.
There is no discussion with Sorelli. I was the premier soprano in Paris before you stole me away to work in this god-forsaken place.
First of all, you were the sole classical professional soprano in Paris, Texas, when I found you belting out Rossini in saloons to inebriated cowboys.
She's also Italian, I guess.
I will kill you!
Kill me?
I love how she talks about herself in the third person.
Decisions? There are no decisions with Sorelli. No one sings like Sorelli.
That I agree with.
Now, presumably because of budget, we don't have a chandelier cutting scene, but we have kind of an equivalent. I don't want to spoil it, but something really nasty happens to Carlotta. And it's funny, it comes just as the film was starting to get a little too sedate and unphantomy for my liking, and then we just get this moment of total insanity. The only way I can describe it is, you know that scene in The Phantom of the Mall, when the Phantom electrocutes that guy and his eyes shoot out of his sockets and end up in the ice cream? Well, it's kind of like that, but with a different body part, and some of the most fakiest CGI blood and hilariously bad prosthetics. It's just Looney Tunes kind of thing. It's totally out of place with the tone that had been set prior, but damn it if it isn't awesome in its own ridiculous way. If this had happened to anyone else, it might have been a deal breaker in the movie, but because it happens to Carlotta, I'll let it slide. Just this once, you understand. Don't do anything else, stupid movie. There is no Don Juan triumphant in this version. Instead, the Phantom has written an opera based on Beauty and the Beast, and Christine auditions to it, rather like in the Robert Englund version. The music for this was also written by Anthony Mann. This guy stars in the film as Eric. He wrote it, directed, he composed the freaking music. Is there anything else this guy didn't do in the movie? I bet he made that hat there. I bet that's him heavily made up as that guy's moustache. The Phantom in this is called Eric Lagos. I can't give you too much of his backstory for fear of spoiling the big plot twist at the end, but it is a different backstory from any other version I've seen, and yet there are clear influences from other versions, including planned movie versions that were never made. After all, Anthony Mann clearly knows and loves his Phantom movie history, so there are a lot of references to be spotted if you are a die-hard Phantom geek like me. Now, I personally think this movie drags a little bit in the middle, but to be fair, that's an argument I could put against most of the other Phantom movies. I mean, I think in honesty, it's only probably really the Robert Englund version and the Herbert Lom versions where I'm in any way engaged by the non-Phantom-y plot. So I can't be too harsh on it for that, but towards the end we finally get to the good stuff. Christine is finally abducted by Eric and taken to his lair, and I must say, this is the only time I've kind of felt the budget constraints. I mean, this film does not look cheap. You know, the period costumes look appropriate. It's obviously done with some nice cameras, you know, and stuff, you know, the lighting and everything. It all looks very professional, but this lair is kind of disappointing. It looks more like a closet or a changing room. I never really felt that we were deep in the depths beneath the opera house.
You will sing for me. You will sing. Or you will die.
Maybe the budget went on that mightily impressive organ. That is a cool organ. I like my Phantoms to have big, ginormous organs, so sue me! There's some real tension between Eric and Christine in these scenes. I really wish I could tell you what happens next, but it's far too spoilerific. It would be wrong of me to ruin it for you. It's nice to have a Phantom movie where we genuinely don't know what's going to happen next. All the character dynamics are altered and unstable, so you never really know which character's going to live and which one's going to die, and the plot twists come thick and fast, and the final plot twist is very satisfying, particularly if you're a fan of one particular classic version, but, I've said too much.
You could disappear into a crowd and never be heard from again.
Mine's not a face that can blend into a crowd. You'll see.
Now, I want to talk about the disfigurement, which I can't show you, although this image might give you some idea of the kind of look they're going for. If you've seen my reviews before, you will know that by now that I have a real bee in my bonnet about shoddy makeup jobs when it comes to the disfigurement. I was really hoping Anthony could pull this one out of the bag. After all, he's a huge horror fan with knowledge of practical makeup effects and the highest respect for people like Lon Chaney and Jack Pierce, but I was pretty underwhelmed by this Phantom's deformity. You can barely make it out in the big reveal, and although it appears better later on, it's still not that gruesome, and I do wonder why, because, mini spoiler, another character sports a fantastic looking burn makeup later in the film, so it's a real shame the Phantom didn't receive as much attention as this secondary character did, but that's my only real complaint about the movie. And it's one I have with most versions, regardless of the budget. The only ones to do a really good job on it were Lon Chaney, because he is a makeup genius, and Maximilian Schell, and that's because they had Stan Winston doing it. Lon Chaney and Stan Winston are giants in the field of makeup, so I guess this one wasn't too bad considering the limitations, but I was expecting more from such a horror junkie like Anthony. The modern day stuff wraps up with a masked ball sequence, which was very effectively filmed and kind of reminded me a bit of the Maximilian Schell version.
Last returned to me.
And we get a very interesting and intriguing conclusion to the whole thing, but again, I can't give it away. It would be wrong of me to do so. So, how does it compare with other independent Phantom movies? Well, let's throw Angel of Music in the trash right now, if you haven't already, and burn it. Let's compare it with Eric, Portrait of a Living Corpse, which is its closest rival. Anthony Mann's movie is by far more professional looking. Most of the time you forget it's an independent movie. It's filmed very well with good camera work, cinematography, lighting, and yes, makeup for the budget. The music score is good, the script is well written, and the actors were all pretty good. No one stood out as bad, which is noteworthy in a low-budget indie horror movie. Like most Phantom movies, when the Phantom is on screen or doing Phantom-y things, it's excellent. When he's not on screen, not so much, but as I've said, that's a criticism I could level at pretty much all of the Phantom movies. This is a longer film than Eric Living Corpse, and I think some of the non-phantomy stuff I could take or leave it. Some of the scenes with the managers and the other opera staff weren't particularly gripping, but they weren't horrible either. In fact, there was nothing in the script or performances that I could really criticise or make fun of, which makes it pretty blasted difficult for me to review it in an entertaining way, but oh well. Let's remember that making movies is hard. Especially making an independent movie off your own back through your own money. I mean, I can only dream of being able to achieve what these indie filmmakers have done. And yes, I'll even begrudgingly lump John Woolsey, the director of Angel of Music, in with these. It was an achievement of sorts. At least he made a Phantom movie. I'm just sat in a creepy basement criticising other people's creative work, so who's the loser? Anyway, overall, I think Eric Living Corpse had more of a sense of fun. It didn't take itself quite so seriously, although this version is by no means humourless. It does have a dark sense of humour, and crosses over into semi-parody at times with some truly awful puns and catchphrases that would have Robert Englund spinning in his grave, if he were dead.
Everyone's a critic.
Joseph? Oh, I'm afraid he's not the man he used to be.
Anthony Mann plays the role with over-the-top glee.
Visitors. And so it begins. Yes. Let us take a breather, Christine.
There is very little subtlety to his performance, but it's in the style of Hammer Horror and Universal Horrors and Robert Englund, so it's fine. I'd even go as far to say that his is one of the better Phantoms out there. And to be fair, he is a good actor in that kind of Vincent Price, Robert Englund sort of mould. So I got a real kick out of his performance. So the movie is released on DVD and available online from October 2014. For more details, go to anthonydpmann.com. Do I recommend it? Hell yeah! If you don't mind independent films that are into Phantom movies, then you will find plenty to enjoy here. It's an entertaining and well-made movie that isn't just regurgitating the same old junk that we've seen time and time again. It does take the Phantom story we all know by heart and does some original things with it, while keeping true to the spirit of the novel and the many movie versions that we all love. I give it 3.5 creepy masks out of 5.